Initially, I bought this house, and it took me $25,000 to buy the house. It took a long time to save up that money, and then I was dead broke, and I had no money for reserves.
Yeah.
So then I reevaluated my plan, and I just took a leap of faith, and I bought a house that was in complete shambles. When we remodel the properties, we keep low leverage on them. Honestly, we'd like to have leverage, meaning the amount of money we owe versus what the property is worth, for us to be able to sell it and at least break even. There's peaks and valleys. I have a scary moment. I deal with it, and then I'm like, oh, I feel good. This is easy. And then the next thing you know, something pops up, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's not easy.
Right now, listening to Last Sunday podcast.
What's up, Last Sunday? How you guys doing? I am back, and I'm back with a great guest. Let me just do an introduction real quick. Dan is an entrepreneur. He is a realtor and a property owner and a father.
Yeah.
All right. And you recently recently got married as well.
Recently got married, less than a year. I don't know the exact date.
So I guess that's still considered newlywed. I don't know when is the time frame for newlyweds. Like,
it feels like it's been a long time. It's real natural with her.
Yeah. That's how I feel too. I feel like it's been like 2 years, I think, right, for me and Allison.
Yeah, it's crazy. Time flies.
Time flies. I'm getting old. 26.
So, 26, 3 kids.
I know,
You're a
right?
grown man
People
now.
are like,
It's
what's
crazy.
going on here? This guy's young and has like 40 kids. Oh, no.
You guys are living the Amish lifestyle, man.
Yeah.
You need the kids.
We were trying, man. Elias was out there helping us today in the garden, but man, I appreciate you taking the time to do this. I know you're a busy man, and you got some big things. I mean, so much has changed since the last time you've been on the podcast, and it's kind of crazy to think about. You know, you came here looking like a businessman. Last time, I think you just had a regular shirt on. So
yeah. I was with some clients this morning. A lot has changed. It's crazy. It's hard to even wrap my head around, and everything is moving so quickly.
Yeah, I think it's been 2 years since the last podcast. So
yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, it's amazing though. Like how far have you come, and let's just get into that. Like, knowing what you know now, and how far have you come? What are some big things that's some big changes that's happened since those 2 years?
A lot has changed. Pretty much everything has changed in my life, to be honest with you. Being married, I was single for so long, let alone to be married with somebody, having kids, because the 2 daughters are JL's, but now my daughters as well.
Yeah.
My career's changed, and the biggest thing I think out of all of it is my mindset is just completely different.
Yeah. I definitely noticed that. But I feel like when we did the podcast, the one before, you had the right mindset. I think from what I first met you, obviously. Yeah. But yeah, what do you think that spark was for you? That kind of was like, you know what? Let's get this thing rolling. Let's try to do this.
I actually remember when it all started to change. I was slowly bettering myself. I was working on music. This was over 10 years ago, and I found something that I could put my energy into. I seen when I worked hard on it, I started to progress. And one night, I was sitting in a garage with a bunch of friends from high school, and we were partying. Everyone was doing the same thing for the last 4 years. And then something clicked in my mind that everybody who has ever done anything was just a normal person like me.
Yeah.
And all they did was they found a way to make it work.
Yeah.
And I remember having that thought. And ever since that day, that's really when it started to change. And I've just been really driven on goals. And started moving forward. And it seems like everything is happening quickly, but I have had that mindset for the longest time. But you don't go from not doing anything with your life to getting somewhere, because it's just the slow steps. And it starts to build up, and then it moves quicker, and it seems like you're doing a lot quickly. But I have been personally working on myself for a really long time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think knowing you for like 6 years now, probably.
Again, it feels like everything's such a blur. It feels like a lifetime. I
know. I'll tell a quick story. I remember specifically. Well, I don't know how to speak English.
It's your second language.
Yeah, there you go. I remember a time when we first were meeting each other. We went out to Rosati's and we had pizza out here in Ottawa.
Yeah.
And I still remember that day. I was like, oh wow. I think that was probably the first day I met you, but I'm not 100% sure. Maybe I met you beforehand. But I remember that day specifically when we ate some pizza and we were just. I was like, I like this guy. I don't know, something about him.
Yeah, that's good. We've always had a really mutual respect for each other.
Yeah.
Especially with you being with Allison, I couldn't want her to be with a better person. And I think that's just more down to mindset too. Like you want to learn, you want to do things the right way. You're trying your best, and there's not really much more you can ask for. And if you do that consistently, then you will inevitably have a good life.
Yeah. And it's funny because I think I've had Frank on, which is your brother. Which anybody who Frank. If you guys listen to the podcast, you know Frank. So, and I've told him this too. It's like you guys are like the first I kind of go to whenever I have a big idea or if I need help with something. I'm like, let me call Frank and Dan and see what they think about it. So I feel like you guys have very good insight on life, and you guys kind of been through things and. It's always good to have somebody in your corner that has lived a life, that's done this, done that, and it's kind of like, hey, I've been through that. I probably wouldn't go that route, or hey, I would probably do this instead. So it's always good to have somebody. You have to have somebody like that.
Yeah, I'm sure Frank feels the same way, but I'm honored you feel that way. Honestly, I'm trying to become the person that people want to come to with stuff like that. It means a lot to me to be able to help other people. I've been helped so much in my life. I really just want to be the person that my life is so much together that I have bandwidth to care about other people's problems.
Yeah, and I think that was a big thing that we were talking about is that's basically what your driving point is for doing all this is, buying these properties is to kind of have the funds and have the different things to kind of help people.
Yeah, I want to have money. I want to have time. I want to have life experience. And I have everything I need right now. I have a beautiful wife, beautiful daughters. Our bills are paid. Life's hard, but it's always going to be hard. I have everything I need.
Yeah.
But I want to have so much that I can give to other people.
It's amazing. Not a lot of people have that mindset, especially when they get into doing anything with realting or owning properties. I feel like that goes hand in hand. Am I correct on that? I feel like usually people that are realtors usually own properties.
There is a camp there's kind of buying and selling agents, and then also people who work with investors. I don't think all realtors own their properties or own properties of their own. From the experience that I've had, I think it helps me do my job better because I have a different understanding. I go through my own transactions. I've had my own. It's so emotional, and I've had the effect of going through the process, and I know what it feels like, so I can relate better to people. But people have different skills they can lean on. I'm not to say that I'm not a good salesman. I haven't had the experience in life to become a good salesman yet, but I can lean into other strengths. I'm real personable. Yeah. I'm empathetic. I really do care about people, but I also have the experience of having bought properties myself. So
you bring that into play. Yeah.
Yeah. And then ultimately I will build the skills more, but I do have something to offer, and that gives me confidence.
Yeah. And I think that's important because not a lot of people have that. You know what I mean? I went to a realtor. Me and Allison were looking for properties, not to call anybody out, but our experience wasn't the best, especially with the loan officer. So I think it is kind of good to have that personal kind of know-it-all that, hey, I've been through that. I've bought properties before. I know how it is. I know the process, to have that insight.
Yeah, that's where I'm really trying to get at right now because I'm newer to being a realtor. This is just going on in a year. I've had a few transactions that were not my own, but that's really where the sales stuff comes in because I have all this information, but I got to get to know the people and let them know that, one, I have their interests at heart, but also that I am knowledgeable enough to do it. Because when you interact with somebody for 30 minutes at a time and maybe a few phone calls. I've been studying this nonstop for years. So to convey all the information I have, I got to figure out what to tell them, the order to tell them in, help learn to build their trust. And that will all come with experience. But it is challenging to make them know what I know.
Yeah. Sorry. I was just going to address too. I know there's a bunch of construction going on in the background. I feel like we should put that out there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The city's growing.
Yeah. You know, we don't have like an office. We're not there yet, guys. Give us some time. We will have a producer and everything. We're going to speak it to existence, hopefully. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
One thing at a time. You're taking the steps. It's growing pains.
Little by little. I definitely feel like a new spark though with the podcast. And I think, like I told you before, I think a lot of that spark comes from, like, you know, talking to you and Frank. You guys kind of always been like, you could do it, bro. Like, you know what I mean? So that's amazing. But man, so how many? I think last time we talked, I don't know if you own. I think this was the only one you had, which is the one that we live at. How many do you have now?
It's 10 units, so 6 single-family houses and 2 duplexes. And that was, in 2 years. Yeah.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Man, that's incredible. That's to do that in that time frame. And I remember you telling me, look, I got the blueprint. I know so many people have done this. I remember you telling me that, and kind of, so that's amazing that you already having 10 units. And during that process, were there any times where you're like, man, I don't know if I want, what am I doing? Should I do this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember being in this house. The home inspector came in here. We were walking through it right before I went through with the contract. And I remember just telling him, I am super scared. I don't want to buy this place. I knew the idea was good. I really liked the house. I know, even if I've learned more since then, but I knew that the house was in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
But it was just overwhelming and terrifying. I had no idea how to be a landlord, where to get the contracts from.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm just going to keep taking steps. And I knew they were out there and the information was out there. I had a couple people I can call, but that and so many different steps, I was terrified.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit before the show started. We're about to hire somebody else.
Yeah.
Rather, we are about to hire our first employee. I work with my brother. He's a co-owner. He came on shortly after this house, and I ended up just splitting the business with him. We have too much work for just the two of us to handle.
Yeah.
But also, we don't have enough money coming in to hire somebody. I have the next part of the plan figured out, but it's another leap of faith.
Yeah.
Now I'm involving somebody else, and I'm not lying to anyone. I'm upfront about everywhere we're at.
Right.
We made it this far. I have the steps to get to the next place. But yes, it's super terrifying.
Yeah. Why? You know, it's funny because my next question was, when did you get to that point where you felt comfortable? But I guess now you're like, I'm not. I'm still going through that process of still kind of taking that leap of faith and kind of trust in the process that you get through it.
Yeah. There's peaks and valleys. I have a scary moment. I deal with it, and then I'm like, oh, I feel good. This is easy. And then the next thing you know, something pops up, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's not easy. I just didn't see that problem coming.
Yeah. No, that's crazy. But I was gonna tell you, when you're going through the process, you're at 10 units now. What are some things that you can think of that you're like, man, I wish I would have done this a little bit different, or I wish I would have done this a little bit different? Or do you feel like right now you're kind of, what it is what it is?
Yeah, I don't think there was much different I could have did.
Yeah.
I would like things to be cleaner. I would like to have the better software to manage things more simply.
Yeah.
I wish I knew more, but I'm literally doing the best I can. And so for that reason, I'm just really happy with the way that it's playing out. So we're making progress, and there is stuff I want better, but I can only do so much.
Yeah. What are some pros and cons that you can think of just being a property owner?
I think for even a business owner in general, I'm really driven. I don't need somebody over my shoulder to ask me to do my job. So for me, it's kind of more natural to do this. Whether I have a boss or not, I'm gonna get the work done. I don't have any problem with that. I like working. I find fulfillment in that alone. Some of the biggest con, and I think one of the biggest challenges to being a business owner or a property owner, I never get to not have an answer.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what stops most people. Problems come up every day that I don't know how to answer. And either I lose everything I have or I find an answer. I don't have a choice.
You're in a constant battle to like, I can't not have the answer to this. I got to figure it out. So you like that drive of trying to problem solve. And
Yeah,
trying to
I do
figure-
like problem solving. Yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing to have because I'm not like that. I guess I think I am, but I think it's like you said, when you do that, it's kind of fearful because there is no answer you can't give. You have to figure it out.
Yeah.
And that is kind of like a leap of faith too in itself.
Yeah.
What are some pros that you've seen that like some things you're like, you know what?
I never had a plan for my future before. In order to do this process, I've had to become a better version of myself, which that's definitely a big pro. Like, it wasn't just that my career changed. I had to become a different person, a better person.
Yeah.
And it's given me the time to constantly reevaluate the things that I'm doing, the choices I'm making. Is this getting me to the place that I want to be? I'm more fulfilled. And also, up until my 30s, I had zero going towards retirement and also $0. So the thought of one day being able to, I don't know that I'll stop working, but not having to go punch a clock or work for a boss, or not having to be 65, 7 years old being a Walmart greeter.
Yeah.
And people make choices, and maybe that's just their way to get out of the house, but it's not what I wanted for my life, and I'm glad that I evaluated it, and I'm putting an effort to change it.
Yeah. And I think as you get older, you kind of start to realize that I need to do something, you know, because you don't, I think these are things that we don't think about when we're younger. We're kind of like wrapped up in I feel like we're wrapped up in everyone else's problems. I feel like sometimes we can be, you know, Jordan Peterson talked about how we're reverse narcissists and how we beat ourselves up. You know, we're like, and versus like the narcissist is like they only care about themselves. And I feel like a lot of people, they're hard on themselves. They're always like, oh, you're not worth it. You can't do that. You're not, you know. And I think that we need to us as people, we need to do better on trying to change that. Because we don't ever do anything. We just kind of just beat ourselves up. You know what I mean? To take any risk.
Yeah, that was a big thing that I had to overcome to be where I'm at right now. And every day I have to continue to overcome that battle. For sure, I'm my own hardest critic. And for most of my life, I've been insecure. Yeah. And there's still areas that I'm insecure about. And again, that'll probably be a battle forever. But I had to just decide one day that it was that thought that I had when I was younger, that everyone who ever succeeded was a person just like me.
Yeah.
So they're not better than me. In that area, they tried harder than me. I've done, especially at this point in my life, I've accomplished things, and that gives me the confidence to move forward. But one day I had to make a decision that, okay, that I am good enough, or if I'm not, I can be, and I'm just gonna work towards that goal. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think we compare. It's like the compare and contrast. Like you said, everyone that's doing what I'm doing is just normal, like me. They're just a normal guy trying to figure out what to do. I feel like sometimes we're like, what sets you apart? What makes you different from everyone else? And it's like, nothing. I'm like you, man. You know what I mean? I didn't want to work a job like everyone else, and I wanted to work for myself. So that's amazing that you were able to kind of like figure that out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know if it was luck, maybe some of it, getting around the right information at the right time. I certainly worked for it. Yeah. Even if it was luck, it didn't come easy.
Yeah.
But yeah, just getting over that. One thing, another pivotal moment that changed in my life, I had started reading a lot.
Yeah.
And just taking in new information. I can't tell exactly which books changed because they all slowly are chipping away at my imperfect mindset and getting me in a better direction. Somebody that I'd like to listen to Bigger Pockets podcast. It's a real estate podcast, and one of the older hosts, Brandon Turner, he read a book, The Vivid Vision, and it talks about your life in the future in 3 years, and you think about the person that you are in 3 years, and you think about it in present tense, like I make this much money, my family is this way, my health is this way, my fitness is this way. And now, after having that experience, I reevaluate my life and I aim for something specific.
Yeah.
At all times. It matters to me the kind of husband I am, the kind of father I am, the amount of money that I make, how charitable I am.
Yeah.
And I constantly keep revisiting these things and asking myself, is the things that I'm doing right now going to make me be this person at this time?
Yeah.
And it kind of cuts out a lot of the noise. It's not hard to make decisions. Like, I heard somebody talking, actually on Joe Rogan's podcast, they were talking about Elon Musk as one of his workers, and he said he bases every decision on whether or not this is going to take him to Mars or not.
Wow.
And whatever, it really doesn't matter what it is. It just matters what you care about.
Right.
Like, decide what you care about, and then every decision, is this going to bring me closer to or further away?
That's actually amazing, and that's the same thing that that me and Allison kind of done. Like, we're like, what is our, we kind of put it as like, what is our family goal? Like, what do we want for our family? And I think for me, it's just to be more present, with my kids, to have more time with them. And for us, the way we feel like too, it's like the only way to get to that is to live,
Simply.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know what? You've taught me something today. Maybe I need to write some stuff down and, kind of look at that. What is going to get me to that?
Yeah.
Like, what do I need to do to get to that simple life that I want? Mm-hmm. I never actually looked at it like that, and that probably would help me. So maybe,
Yeah, write it down.
Yeah.
For sure. Get it out of your mind.
This is why we do this, guys. This is why we do this. So you guys can learn something, man. Like, you never know.
Always trying to learn more from everybody.
That's amazing.
Honestly, that hurt my feelings a little bit too, because I have all these ambitions, but being present, it's tough because I want to do a lot. And,
it is, yeah.
JL is constantly having to remind me. She's supportive and she wants me to do these things, and it's awesome. And thankfully, she is there. Like, you have a family. You need to pay attention. No.
It is. That's amazing that I'm just thinking about, like, 2 years from now, I couldn't really talk to you about kids or having a family, and now we can actually have a conversation about it, and that's a great. Sorry about that, guys. We had we have families. That's a great example right there. We have kids, and
you got to be present.
Yeah, you got to be present, even when you're doing a podcast.
Yeah, for sure. It's super hard.
Yeah. I know that you're in the same boat as me. What are some things that you kind of do to try to balance that?
Lean on JL.
Yeah.
Luckily, she's there and much more nurturing than I am.
Yeah.
And I have her as a reminder.
Yeah.
It's a little bit weird because I'm working from home right now, and we just had a bunch of life changes. Aubrey is starting kindergarten next year, but she's at home with me, so I'm trying to learn a new job. And she was in preschool, but some things changed around, so I don't want her to fall behind, so we have workbooks. So I'm trying to teach her. I'm not making it fun because I'm trying to learn something. There's always a deal falling apart, and I'm always upset about something. She has a real ambitious, driven personality.
Yeah.
And doesn't really care for my authority or think that I know anything, which is fine. And it's my job to guide her through it. But nothing on her, but it's just frustrating because she has such a strong personality.
Yeah.
So
you're surrounded by girls. That's what it is.
There's so many emotions in the house.
He's like, I call him on the phone. He's like, oh, finally I get to talk to somebody that's a man.
Yeah, it's rough over there.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's tough, man. It's one of those things.
I need better tactics. I don't know. That's an area I have to work on.
Yeah, and that's I think that's the same with me, you know. I think that, you know, it's funny, guy, I asked you, like, what are some things, and like, I kind of knew what you were going to say, but I think it's important to show, like, you know, the fathers that, hey, you're not going to be perfect, you know. No. We're going to struggle. We're going to have to try to pick ourselves up, and every day's a process, you know. But like you said, never lose sight of like, you know, of what is, and have someone to lean on. You know, having a wife and that is very important as well too. I don't know what I would do with Allison. She does everything.
yeah, for sure.
You know, so
you guys are good for each other for sure.
I was gonna ask you, what are some experience that you've had with tenants? I know I'm one of your tenants. So I guess just don't talk about me.
You're the worst. You're the worst. No,
he's like, this guy is terrible.
I've honestly been super lucky in this whole thing, to be completely honest. We've come in on budget on our projects, on our renovations, all just by luck, because I'm putting in some effort and trying my best, and same thing with tenants. So everybody's been really cool. I've had pretty much rent on time from everyone. Not too long ago, we had our first turnover.
Yeah.
Which is, tenant was there for a year. He found a house to live in. He moved out. At this point, we only have so much coming in. Anytime there's a vacancy, you have to cover the money until it's rebooked. You got to pay the mortgage. Mm-hmm. And also, we have to clean up the property every time somebody leaves. Got to do some repairs, make sure the old filth is out, and you got a nice new place to present to these people.
Yeah.
We have criteria when we rent to people. Ours is you need a 600 credit score, 3 times rental income, no evictions, or some specific stuff with your criminal background. Yeah. And that's just kind of stacking the odds in your favor that the tenant's going to pay. You know, they make enough money, they have good credit, they don't want to ruin it. Yeah. And
that's pretty low on the scale, because I've seen some that are like 700 credit score, and, you know, not saying that, you know, what your criteria is wrong or anything. I'm just saying, like, that's kind of, you know, still good.
It's not too hard to get in there. Yeah, it's situational. It's because kind of the area that we're in. Yeah. Nobody's making a lot of money. If you're in a higher end areas, you're going to have different criteria to meet there. But on this particular turnover, I lowered my standards for the lady because I was nervous about being able to get somebody in there in time and having to foot the bill. Really, you just need to be patient. Yeah. She's, for the most part, been good, but she's late on rent every single month. And it's just like, okay, I should stick to the criteria to try to get a better tenant. Yeah. But she's a good person, single mom, trying to deal with kids. So we do our best to work with her. And I'm trying to help people. Yeah. And she's comfortable there, and we do our best to work together. So having those standards helps a lot. Now that we've been growing, we finally have these multi-units, and that's starting to create a different experience. Right. Single family houses, there's pros and cons to everything. When you have a single family house, there's not a huge margin to make a lot of money off of it. It's more of a long-term savings account that's going to benefit you later, and you just kind of got to manage it. But there's not other people nearby. There's not conflicting personalities. You kind of have, there's that one place, they're isolated by themselves, and you can deal with their personality. But now that we're starting to get into multi-units, which we're trying to lean into as a business model, because
you can make more money.
It creates more money, gives us more opportunities, but new things come with it, and it's just bickering neighbors and things like that. Nobody's going to get along perfectly, especially when you're stacked on top of each other. Yeah. So just learning to manage these personalities. We've, for the first time, had to begin the eviction process. And I started it, but they moved out. So again, honestly, it was pretty lucky. They moved out, and before an entire month had gone, we had another tenant in there.
Yeah.
So everything was moving pretty quick.
I wanted to talk to you about something that I did not know about, and I want to get your opinion on it because you are a property owner. But I just ran across this, and this is kind of crazy. Have you heard about like these people that are like squatting? They're called squatters.
Yeah.
Do you worry about that? Because I know right now they're not really doing a lot of stuff to help people that own properties with that. Because, I mean, the way it works, I don't know if anybody knows. I don't know if you want to explain it, how it works, if you know.
I know a little bit. It depends on the state or sometimes maybe even county that you're in. Different municipalities have either more landlord-friendly laws or more tenant-friendly laws. And I remember hearing a story recently about somebody who had an Airbnb, but they didn't do the permits. It was some doctor, and some lady just moved in there and wouldn't leave.
Yeah.
And then she was like, if you pay me $100,000, I'll leave. He took her to court, but he didn't get the proper permit, so it wasn't actually a living space. And they were like, we can't kick her out.
Yeah, yeah, and they're I think it's like more of like a civil matter, and it's not like there's stories of people calling, hey, there's a family in my house, like like, oh, we can't do anything about it, and they're showing, I think, these people fake leases.
Yeah,
and they're able to just stay there, and these people are going to work, living job, like going to work, living regular lives, just taking over these people's houses, and there's no really any legality. I don't think that. I know that, like you said, there's some. There's some.
But yeah, there's places where there's not really much you can do about it.
Yeah. Do you ever worry about that, or not really?
I can give you an analogy that.
Just go in there with the shotgun and.
No, I don't know how I would handle it specifically, to be honest with you. But
yeah,
I just recently got married. Yeah. And especially now with the internet and the red pill community and stuff, you see people like, oh, marriages end in divorce and this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't think about, I think about the negative side to the extent that I do what I can to prepare for it. Yeah. If I don't buy all of these properties and start this business, my family's not going to have a future, because this is the road I've chosen to have. If I don't commit 100% to JL, I don't care if she leaves me, or like, not that I don't care, because I want to be with her. I want to have this life. Yeah. I don't care what the negative side is.
But you can't dwell in that negative. Yeah. You can't dwell in that, well, what if this, what is that? What if this happens? I think that's something that I kind of very much so deal with, and we've had extensive conversations on this, me and you, outside the podcast, of how to deal with it. And I think I've been doing a lot better with dealing with that. But I know there's a lot of people out there that deal with just being worried, like just having like this worriness about everything. It's like, well, then you won't ever do anything.
Yeah, anxiety and depression is super high.
Yeah,
because everybody is worried. For the most part, there's less people that are just trusting.
Do you feel like, sorry for interrupting you, go ahead. Do you feel like you doing what you're doing now is giving you a sense of like purpose, and you feel a little bit more enlightenment or happier than where you were when you were not doing those things, doing what you're doing now?
Well, what makes me feel good, and I've found this out. The last thing that I was doing, I was a professional skydiver.
Yeah.
I did that for 10 years. And there was a point in the process, I got this new goal. I was really excited about it. I got to the highest position I could get in the company, and I had my license to professionally take people on skydives. So I was getting paid to skydive for a living, as well as some other things at the company. And then I got depressed. Yeah. Because I hit my goals and I had nothing to do. And that was... I had to reevaluate, look for some new things to do, and that was slowly kind of where this transition started. And it helped as well to touch back on the vivid vision. It's not really... What gives me purpose is waking up and trying to be the best person I can be. Yeah. Because then I'm not going to hit the goal and then get depressed because I'm not trying to work towards something. Every day I can try to be a better person. Having my finances in order, having resources to help people, that's me becoming the best person I can be. Yeah. Being a loving father, being a better husband, working on my faith. Yeah. You can't get to the end of that goal.
Yeah. That's what I was going to ask you, is like, okay, so say you do it and then you get to that end goal, but you just answer that question. So
Yeah, there is no end. I want to be a better person. And there is no perfect person. So every day I have to wake up, and that's where the reevaluation comes.
I feel like you see a lot of that. Like us, we're artists. You know, we like music. You see that a lot of artists are like that, where they're in the beginning, you see their best work. You know what I mean? There's some that are just like really good. Like there's some artists out there that just they got hits. But there's some where they're really good in the beginning. They're in the grind, and then when they get to the pinnacle of they're on the top, you just see them fall down. They're either doing drugs or they end up, taking their own life.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And I feel like that is kind of dangerous in itself. It's like when you start getting in the grind and you're doing it and then you get there and then what? Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people don't actually think about that.
You don't think about what happens when you get there.
Yeah.
It happens to like Olympic gold medalists. They work their whole life to get this one thing, and then they have like breakdowns after. It's common and it's normal. I think it's good to reach for goals, but
I think we all know which one you're talking about. So. No, but it is. It's crazy, and I think that's what the purpose. Like you were talking about faith, and I think that's what the purpose of having faith in God. I think that our life is unpurposeful without having a relationship with the Creator, and I think that if we're just constantly working towards all these different things, I feel like you won't ever get the satisfaction that you need unless you're living for the one who created you. And, obviously everyone lives their own life, and this is obviously a faith-based podcast, but, I feel like that's what a lot of people are struggling with, is that they are not in relationship with God. So, and I think the closest that we can get to God, I think that it's more, I think it's never bad. You know what I mean? I feel like some people are like, oh, I don't want to follow God. And it's like, well, think about what is he, there's nothing bad that he wants for you. You know what I mean? Like, don't go kill your neighbor, or don't covet your neighbor's wife. Don't commit adultery. Don't go steal. I think these are all good things that we all, say that they are. Yeah. So, but I don't know. I just wanted to touch on that too. But
yeah, I'd even like to touch base on that as well. So I've always, my brother Frank's been on the podcast. He's obviously really into religion. He's a religious scholar, I would say. And so I've always heard about Christ, and I know the story vaguely.
Yeah.
JL is a Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah.
And I don't have feelings really one way or another about that. I like that she has standards. Those types of things mean a lot to me. She's trying to live her life a certain way, similar to you said, like she doesn't want to steal or adultery. Like that's awesome.
Yeah.
I like that stuff. So I tried to read the Bible a handful of times. It's a lot to take in, so I didn't make it all the way through.
Yeah.
I've been going to church with her now. It's really important to her. I started a Bible study with some members from her church, and I've committed to read through the Bible, and I've gotten through the majority of it. I'll be done in a couple months. And
wow, that's amazing.
Like you said, because the Bible teacher was talking to me about this before. Like, do you believe everything in the book? And it's just an opinion, but I don't think it matters. And on one level, if you believe in God, or if these stories are true, because if I read everything in the Bible and I followed it perfectly, my life would be good.
Yeah.
Like, just dumb it down and take it one step at a time. Like, it's a lot to take in. It's a big question.
Yeah, but what is the senses of what is God trying to do with you? What is the senses of what He wants for your life? And I think it's good.
Yeah.
There's nothing that's bad that God wants for you.
Yeah, I haven't read one thing in there that He said to do that I don't agree with.
You're like, wait, what? I'm not doing that.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I think it is the caveat is, I think the reason why people are afraid to take that and like go into that is because they know they have to get rid of things that they don't want to. And I think that is what the truth, that's what it really is. It's like, okay, I know what this is about. And if I want to really do this, I'm probably going to have to stop doing that. Mm-hmm. Or I'm probably going to have to stop doing this. And I think that is one of the big issues where people are not kind of like getting closer to God.
That was actually one thing that me and JL bonded about before it even got a little bit more seriously, because obviously she goes to church, and a lot of the things that they talk about at their meetings, I'd be reading a book trying to better myself, and she's like, oh yeah, we feel that way too. And like I had already been working on myself, and it is like, okay, you want to reach these goals, but you're not going to get there unless you let that other part of you go.
Yeah.
That laziness, that addiction that you have, that fear of having hard conversations. It's all in the Bible.
Yeah.
Like everything's in there. You have to grow to be a better person.
Yeah. He says too that Christ talks about how his yoke is light, and to put your burdens on him, you know, and not to worry about the worries of today, because, you know, I think it's don't worry about the worries today, because save those for tomorrow in a way. And I think these different things, you know, that they help, you know, they help knowing that you have somebody, you know, to lean on.
Yeah.
A bigger person that, you know, the creator of the world.
Yeah, who doesn't want that? When you're a kid, you put your fears on your parents, and you just go along with your life because you know everything's going to be okay. And it's the same thing. What are you going to do about it even if it's not? Just go on with your life.
Yeah.
There's no reason to worry about it. It is scary and it's hard to let go, but...
Yeah.
That was actually... When you ask, like, do I worry about squatters or things like that? My favorite thing that I read in the Bible, I'll get the names wrong, but Jesus is walking on the water. The apostles are on the boat. Maybe Peter or something. They see him out there, and he's like, "Just come walk to me." Yeah. And he takes a few steps, and then he sinks.
Yeah.
And then he asked Jesus what happened, and he said, "You lost faith."
Yeah.
Like, that's what I'm doing. I'm just taking the steps. I don't care about anything else.
It's amazing.
I have faith, like unshakable faith, and I am scared, and I worry I worry, but I take another step every single day.
That's amazing. And that's amazing. I struggle with that, having little faith, and it's like, yeah, you have the little faith, and you might go in there, you might actually start drowning a bit, but then you kind of get up.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, all right, come on, let's get back up. Yeah. Let's take another step.
You get a little wet, and you're like, oh man.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But no, that's amazing, and I think that in itself gives you purpose to actually take the leap.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Knowing that you know, for me, it's knowing that Christ is on the other side in the boat, saying, "Hey, come to me." Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because you can walk on water. If you're walking on the water, right, without something, like you're going towards Christ, you're going to fall without him. You need him to get to the boat. Yeah. You know what I mean? So but no, it's amazing. That's good. You've come a long way.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You're like a whole different person since I like when we first met. And you know what's funny? Because it's not like you were like, you've always been kind. You've always you're still you, but I can see that. I would say I could see God working in you. That's what I would say. I feel like there's something that's going on.
I'm on a mission to change the world. Yeah. My world, my family's world, and if I can work hard enough and I'm blessed enough, then more than that.
I was gonna ask. So, how has your transition been? Doing realtoring, because before you were just doing the properties, but how has it been doing both? How is the process of that? Like, how have you been kind of handling balancing the two?
It's in a lot of ways, it's actually given me more freedom, because prior to that, I was working unlimited hours for another company on salary, and for me to break away and try to work on the properties was difficult. As a realtor, I actually work from home because we're from a small office, so I kind of have the freedom. If I can just go work on the house, I got to answer phone calls. I might have to leave to go do a showing. It's actually given me a quote. I'm working on designing the life the way that I need it to be to accomplish my goals, and it was a step in the right direction.
That's great. What would you recommend someone that is buying properties and that is kind of like, would you recommend realting? Would you recommend a job that you can like, what would you recommend someone like, I want to own a property, but I'm kind of like, I'm not sure if I want to do it big scale.
As an investment property or to buy their own home?
For investment, to own properties to rent or to even to sell.
Not necessarily to be a realtor. It just made sense for me. There's steps you can take, and there's nothing new. You're not reinventing the wheel, but it's on a case-by-case scenario, because you couldn't do exactly what I did, because these are the skills specifically that I have and the connections that I have. The way that it worked out, the strategy that I take, my brother is an excellent carpenter who just happened to have a lot of free time and been in a position in his life where he can dedicate the time and is willing to not make a lot of money now to make money in the future.
Yeah.
The type of construction skills that I had complemented him. I'm really obsessed right now about learning about business, so I handle certain ties like that. I've spent the last, like you said, I've always been kind, and a big skill that I have, a trait that I have, is trustworthiness. People like and trust me, and I've been leveraging that to borrow money from people. Everyone also knows that, like I mentioned, I had the job worth unlimited. Like I've worked 100-hour weeks many times in my life. Like I like working.
Yeah.
So whatever it takes, I'm going to get the job done. So I can't tell you specifically what a general person would need to do, what would be wisest for them to do it. Yeah. But if I sat with somebody individually, I could help them evaluate what skills they have and what would make sense for them to move forward. Yeah. I think it is for everyone, but the way that you approach it you want to find your competitive advantage.
Yeah.
There's something about you that would make you succeed, and you need to lean into that.
I know personally some people that personally some people I work with that work at my job and own properties, and they probably own one or two. And from your experience, is that kind of like, would you say that's a more safer way to do versus what you're doing, obviously, or what would you say about that? There's somebody that kind of wants to buy a property, because like I was thinking about doing that at one point, but then I was kind of worried about it because I didn't know enough about it. So I guess, what would you say to that person that, I got this job, I have some extra funds, I could probably buy a property and rent it out. Is it worth it, I guess is what I'm asking.
Yeah, I think it's totally worth it. I am 100% sold on real estate. But again, it's going to be a unique situation. For example, if I'm a person who has a really high paying job and I buy a house, and even if something breaks, or even if it doesn't make a lot of money every month, I can just pay somebody to go fix it, or to foot the bill for the repairs, or if there's a vacancy, I can continue to pay the mortgage while it's happening. Then that's the angle that you have to approach it. For me, the way that I've approached it, I have to buy more property. Yeah. I have to, because where we're at right now, I have too much property. I'm very busy between the family trying to be a realtor and handle a lot of the logistical side of things. Frank's stuck doing a lot of the repairs. But now we have so many properties, and we're rebuilding a house from the studs up. Yeah. There is so much work to do. Yeah. And I can't, even though I have the ability to help him, I don't have the time to help him. Yeah. So now I have to hire an employee. We're trying to get 2 here shortly. But that means I have to buy more real estate, right? Because I need money. And it's almost like, it would almost appear that we've put ourselves in a situation where I have to make an action, but I've meticulously been planning this for a long time. So it's like a problem comes, I'm assessing it and I'm dealing with it, but I already had the plan. Yeah. So for me, I have to buy more real estate. It's the only way to manage what I have.
Put yourself you're like a boxer, you have yourself against the ring, but it's sometimes.
But I've trained.
Yeah, you're training. You did your homework. You already did.
I've studied the tapes. Yeah, I know my opponent, and it's not gonna happen like you think. But I've already prepared. I've prepared as much as I can. I work on this every single day.
How important is to do that before you actually do that? Is that everything, basically? Would you say, or?
Preparation.
Yeah.
It's half and half.
Yeah.
You can prepare so much, but until you're in a real world situation, you have nothing to correlate the information to. So at some point, you're not learning. Yeah. So spend some time learning, read a book or two, buy a house, keep learning, run into problems, keep learning.
Yeah, I think that the preparation part for me, and probably some people feel like this too as well, is that it's like you're prepping for it, and then you look into everything, and you're like, dang,
It's overwhelming.
Yeah. So, but I was gonna ask, where? Okay, Dan Baltazar. It's Dan Baltazar. What is the name for your rental properties?
Baltazar Rentals.
Baltazar Rentals. Where do you see Baltazar Rentals 5 to 10 years from now? What is your vision, and where do you want to be at?
So
you're like rich.
Yeah, I do plan to be a millionaire.
Yeah,
like more than $1 million. I plan to be a multimillionaire, but with that, I plan to take that time and resources and help people. So initially, I bought this house, and it took me $25,000 to buy the house. It took a long time to save up that money, and then I was dead broke, and I had no money for reserves.
Yeah.
So then I reevaluated my plan, and I just took a leap of faith, and I bought a house that was in complete shambles. We fixed it up, remodeled it. I got all that initial money back, and then we took that money and did a couple more houses. And at that point in my knowledge, I was going to continue to do that plan. But it's real slow. We're barely making any money. All the money that we make is going to be in 20 years. All that will pay off. But right now, I'm trying to get to the next house. We ran into a situation where the money that we have and the markets available, there was nothing out there. So we reevaluated our strategy, and we bought, it was like a small apartment building, but it was actually 3 separate buildings, but it was a 5-unit apartment. And again, I didn't really have the money when I initially started, so I didn't even think that big. I was afraid of the types of issues that I would have with conflicting personalities, but we did it, and it wasn't that bad, and it actually is a lot more lucrative. So after reaching that experience, then I pivoted our whole business plan. So now we are going to flip houses all year, take all the profits, and buy one apartment building. And then every year we're going to do this and keep buying bigger and bigger buildings, and then sell off the smaller stuff, because
sell off the single homes.
Yeah.
Okay.
The single homes, smaller apartment buildings, whatever makes the most sense. You got to keep, like my life, we have to keep reevaluating the business. Like the house that you live in right now, and this is more where I come in. Frank has a lot of good skills, but this is the type of stuff that my mind's immersed in all the time. I bought this house first, and it's the nicest.
Yeah.
And you would, because it's the biggest house. It didn't need to be completely rebuilt, and we can only do so much at one time.
Yeah.
Since COVID, the house has gone up a little bit. Honestly, when you guys move, we're going to sell this house because it actually has the most value. Even though it's the the nicest house, it'd be smarter to get rid of it
to use that
funds
money
in a bigger building that brings in more cash and can grow in equity more quickly.
I guess that's the great thing about owning is that you can kind of always sell. And then just depending on the market, you might even make your money back more. So I guess that's always good too, doing that.
You do need to be wise about it. So when we remodel the properties, we keep low leverage on them. Honestly, we'd like to have leverage, meaning the amount of money we owe versus what the property is worth.
Yeah.
It is pretty low, which gives us, the market could fall quite a bit for us to be able to sell it and at least break even. So you just have to be wise and plan ahead. Every time I buy a house, I think about multiple ways that I can get rid of it. That way,
I guess that would be my next question is, but I'll let you finish.
So if the market's down, the houses cover themselves. Even if they don't make money, they at least cover enough for the repairs, and I just have to hold it long enough.
Yeah.
Because you could be wrong, but everything's a gamble, and more than likely, at some point over 10 years, the property values will be high enough for you to sell it, especially with how little debt we have on each property.
Yeah. And then I guess my next question would be is, Why not just buy and sell? Why'd you take the renting approach?
The reason why I took that approach is because every time you sell a property, you get taxed on it. But so the strategy is I buy a house with cash, I fix it up, and I pull a mortgage on it. With that mortgage, I get all my original money back, and the IRS doesn't tax debt. So then I'm moving forward tax-free. So I keep taking my original money and moving forward. The reason now why we have to start selling properties is because we've grown too big, and I need to be able to support a staff. Yeah. So it doesn't matter that I have to pay taxes. I need large sums of money.
I see what you're saying now. Okay, and then you also have another thing that you're working on, which is the investments. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Well,
or you don't? I don't know.
I've tried to dabble in other stuff a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's mostly just been with the real estate.
Real estate, okay.
Yeah, I've tried to learn, but my bandwidth is not enough.
Well, man, you've come a long way, and I'm very grateful to know you and just to see how far you've come, you know. And I think it's amazing that what you're doing. I really do. I truly do. And I feel like I don't know. I think I feel the same way. You know, I think we've talked about me personally trying to own a business. I'm in the middle right now, what I really want to do, and but I think having something in your name is always a plus positive. Even if you just do it on the side, I feel like it's always good to have that.
Yeah, and it's going to build over time. Working
for an employer, I think it's 2024, and I think that you just never know, you know. And it's a little scary sometimes.
It depends who you are, I believe. Yeah. Not everyone has the same personality as me.
Yeah.
I mentioned earlier that I don't really need anybody to motivate me to do things. I've also been lucky enough to have accomplished things before, which has given me a track record to build my confidence. Some people, it would make sense for them to be an employee. Like, let's say, for example, your husband or wife makes a good income and you're bored and you want something to do with your day, so you work somewhere that maybe like it's either fulfilling to you or it fills your time and gives you pocket money. There's different reasons to do different things. I had to evaluate my life for myself, but kind of touching on what you said, I definitely don't want to be bitter because it helped transform me into the person that I am. But like the last job that I worked at one point in my life, it was everything that I ever wanted. I wanted to be a professional skydiver. Worked hard enough to have accomplished it. Took a management position because it seemed to make the most sense, where I was working in the company and getting paid year round. I also got to do the thing that I wanted to do, which was skydiving. And when he first hired me, I was not worth very much money. I had a good attitude, but I had no skills.
Yeah.
So over the years, I honed my skills. I learned a lot of things, but by the end of it, for the amount of skills that I had acquired and the effort that I was putting in and the time that I was putting in, they were not paying me what
you're worth,
what I was worth to be paid. And there's part of me, and I try to just put this away because it's not about getting money. It turned me into the person that I am, and I needed those skills.
Yeah.
But part of me was like, I'm doing all this work and I'm not making any money. You're not paying me. I've given you my whole life. I literally have worked 100-hour weeks over and over and over again. I can't do anything else because I'm here working for you, and you're not giving me a lot of money.
Yeah, and I feel the same way right now with my, job. But they pay me good, so it's like it's like the reverse. Like, I get paid really good money, but also like I'm tired every day, and I don't have time with my family. I'm like, it's a lot of different factors. So it's like, do I want to make a lot of money, or do I want to be a good family man? It's like, well, I kind of want to do the other thing. So it's like now I'm like you said, reevaluating what I need to do.
Yeah,
and that's
because you can do both.
Yeah.
And I want to also state that those were the contracts I signed, and those were the agreements that I made. And it's on me to have been a bad negotiator, to have not asked for more money. And they gave me the skills to help me become the person that I am now, and gave me a chance. But that's it. You have to evaluate, because it's what's important for me.
Yeah.
On my life specifically, and in your life for yours. Like, should somebody own a business? I think, yeah, that would be good for you, because you are driven and creative. Your willingness to learn, you have the skills to be able to do that.
Yeah.
You may feel like you're not motivated, but you're your own worst critic, like we spoke on earlier.
Yeah.
So I'm doing it. I know other people have done it, and I see you, and I know you have the skills to do it.
Yeah.
Even the personality and the aptitude to do it. So, yeah, maybe you should. But all that you have to do, because sometimes I get full of myself and I feel like I'm doing the right thing. And, like, I'll reach out to somebody and try to inspire them to do more. And I've had to catch myself a few times. But what I really want to inspire people is to look at your life, figure out what you want, and then work towards that specifically.
Yeah.
What do you want, and put all your effort into doing that, because everything else is a waste of time.
Yeah.
And that's going to be different for everyone. You may want to be a family man, but you can be a family man and make money.
Yeah.
And have time.
Yeah.
You're going to be balancing all the time. It's not hard. You're probably going to work a lot of hours building it up, but
it comes with the process.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, man. I really appreciate you coming on, taking the time to do this, and we're definitely gonna have to get you back on. You gotta outbeat Frank. You know what I mean?
More times on the podcast. Yeah, sure. We're gonna be competing.
He's been on like 5 times, and he's like, we were talking about it the other day. He's like the last minute guy, but he loves it. He's like, all right, cool. I have so much stuff to talk about.
He can talk forever.
Yeah, no. Before we even before I was even doing the podcast, when I first met him, I think we talked for like an hour, 2 hours, just about a bunch of different things. So,
yeah.
But yeah, man, I appreciate it. And if people don't know, Dan's actually the producer on Joe Rogan. So we were talking about like beforehand. I'm like, you sound just like him. Like this, you have the same voice as him.
Yeah.
But
no big
man.
deal or anything. I do a lot.
Yeah, just he doesn't want anybody to know. That's how he's funding all his properties right now, is Joe Rogan's producer. But yeah, man, it was great having a talk with you on here, and I appreciate you taking the time to do it.
Yeah, you too, Angel.
Thank you.
It's been great. Heck yeah.
See you guys on the next one. Peace.
Boy, what you doing? You just got... Okay, let me stop playing. What's up? It's the kid. You just got done watching an LS production.